Peace and blessings, family. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Moorish America. With us today, we're going to have Sheik Azeem Hopkins Bey. And first and foremost, I want to give honors, much praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. Honors to Noble Drew Ali, our divine prophet, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. And also want to give honors to the forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for our prophet. Honors to all the faithful Moors all over the world, everyone tuning in, and also honors to the Sheik for spending some time with us today, or investing some time with us today and sharing his wisdom with us. And I just want to turn over the floor to Sheik Hopkins Bey so that you can let everyone know who you are. If you don't already know about him, I don't know what rock you've been hiding under, but just in case there's some people who haven't heard of you already, please let everyone know who you are.
Well, Islam, praise Allah. Thank you so much, my dear brother. First, I would like to rise in thought to give praise to Almighty God Allah, and I thank Almighty God Allah for displaying His infinite mercy, manifesting His thought in flesh, January 8, 1886, in the person of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and I thank him for all of the wonderful works that he has brought into us. And I thank him for establishing this most wonderful Moorish Sub of America, which I'm grateful to be a card-carrying member of. I give honor to the forerunner Marcus Garvey. I give honor to the past, present, and future leadership of the Moorish Sub of America. I give honors to you, beloved brother, and your beautiful family, and I humbly thank you for allowing me to be a part of your beautiful program this evening. I am Brother A. Hopkins Bey. I function as Grand Sheik of Moorish Science Temple number 11 here in the city of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. I serve as the Grand Governor of the state of Pennsylvania and also the National Press Secretary of the Moorish Sub of America. But most importantly, I'm your brother man. That's one of the highest titles you can have is brother and faithful member of the Moorish Sub of America. Islam.
All right. And brother, you've also written 2 books. Is that correct?
Actually, beloved, I've published over a dozen books. However, you can obtain 2 of those books by way of Amazon.com. However, my other works, you can actually acquire those works by way of our temple here in the city of Philadelphia. And you Moors, you can text me at 215-939-3584, or you can email me at more777@AOL.com. And I can send you an order form of all of the literature that I publish in the name of Allah.
All right, Islam. And if you're ready, I'd like to go ahead and get started. Just have a few questions for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'd like to ask, what was it like for you being raised in the Moorish Science Temple of America? I've read a little bit about you, and I'm assuming that your parents are kind of like me and my wife. As far as finding their way to the temple eventually, and we're raising our children with Islam and Moorish science, and teaching them nationality out of the gate. So what was it like for you growing up in the Moorish science temple?
Oh, praise be to Allah, brother man. Great question. And I give honor to my father and my mother. My father, he's changed forms now. He's, laboring, working out his life sums on the soul plane, and may Allah be pleased with him, and praise Allah for my beloved mother, Sister S. Hopkins Bey, whom we termed her Mother Love, and I look forward to the day when you and your wonderful wife can meet my mother in the flesh, brother. It's going to be a divine meeting, brother. But I thank my father, and my mother, my first teachings, for my first teachers for giving me, what I consider the greatest teachings known to man. And I declare that the best thing that they could have ever given me was the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's the best thing, my brother, being raised free, unapologetically Moorish. And this is a gospel that we teach in the temple. We teach the gospel that, if you're a conscious Moorish American Muslim, you need to be marrying or getting obligated to another conscious Moorish American Muslim, because the Holy Prophet gives us divine instructions. He gives us orders. So before you even go to chapter 1 of our sacred literature, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America, you got to read page 3. Okay, in page 3, you have a disclaimer on page 3. The Prophet lets us know, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those who love Jesus. And on page 3, the Holy Prophet, and this is why I even talked about this earlier in Sunday school, Islamism is not something you turn on and off like a light switch. We carry Islamism with us 24/7. This is our lifestyle. So on page 3, the Prophet, he's not only speaking to us in the temple, but he's also giving us divine instructions outside of the temple, in our homes, on our jobs, during recreation. So on page 3, the Prophet, he gives instructions. He says, dear fathers, dear mothers, dear readers. He's addressing, 3 segments, if you will. Dear readers, dear mothers, dear fathers. And on page 3, the Prophet says, dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. And the same thing on the divine constitution and bylaws, the Prophet is giving fathers and mothers and children instructions. So if you are married or obligated to someone who doesn't subscribe to the teachings of the Moorish Temple of America, that makes it a difficult road to travel in regards to getting your house in order. Okay? The Prophet lets us know that Negro, black, and colored, these are names given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So what in the world, does, and I mean no offense to nobody, because I know some people come in the temple, already married or already obligated, and, their mate might not be as interested as you may be at this time. However, my gospel is, if they love you, they got to love the prophet, okay? Because the prophet says, imitate I, the prophet. And there's no separation between who you are and you demonstrating Prophet Noble Ali. And I know Allah is merciful. So on page 3 of our sacred literature, the Moorish Holy Quran, the Prophet, he says, dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons, you can set your house in order, and your children, will learn to love instead of hate. So this is the method, that we utilize in order to get the nation right, because the foundation or the nucleus of the nation is the household. My father would always teach that the smallest nation is the family. And the prophet gives the divine methodology in order to get our households in order. So for them, when they found the prophet, first my father found the prophet, and he proclaimed his nationality on September the 11th, 1970. And he was searching. He was, part of the Nation of Islam. He actually learned under the Sunni Islam, and he was in various schools of thought. And my father was a debater. He would debate, certain issues and points and stances. But he always would tell a story that when he met his brother Wesley Wilson Bey, and the brother quoted Act 6 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws to him, he said when he hit him with Act 6, he said that's something that he couldn't debate. And he immediately fell in love with the prophet. So after my father joined, my mother, she joined the temple on December the 18th. And my older brothers and sisters joined the temple. So when I was born, they were already in the temple. So, they were raising us, unapologetically Moorish. And I say to you, brother, it was a wonderful life. It was a wonderful thing. And for those, whose parents, those who are in the temple and you have children, I don't want you to think that simply because your children don't celebrate these European holidays that they're missing out on something. I don't want y'all to think that because you don't allow them to participate in this European Halloween and this European December the 25th that they're missing out on something. I declare, I can speak for myself and my younger sister, we missed out on nothing because what the prophet brought, it was so fulfilling. It was fulfilling to the soul as well as the spirit. So when the prophet took something away from us, he replaced it with what is our own. So when a holy prophet took Christianity from us, he says we got to return the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. And we as Moorish Americans are what? Returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. So, brother, being raised as a Moorish American, brother, I mean, wallahi, by Allah, it was the best thing in the world, brother. It was the best thing in the world, being raised with race pride and knowing yourself. I can recall, as a babe in Bethlehem, being a young Moorish American Muslim and educating my peers. We would have meetings and we would come together and they would have questions and about our belief system and do we believe in Jesus and, various questions. And I can recall, I would answer that questions, and any questions that I couldn't answer, I would go to my father and he would give me the answer, and I would go back and I would address it with my friends, my peers at that time. I mean, it was wonderful, brother. It was a wonderful thing, to be raised free as a Moorish American Muslim. And for those young Moorish American Muslims in the temple, stay faithful. Stay faithful. Stick and stay with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Your peers will look up to you because you will demonstrate the degree of a cedar on the mountain. I can bear witness to this, as a young Muslim. When you catch the bus and you go home on a bus and everyone, these young Asiatics, the first thing they do is go to the back of the bus. And, they would make jokes and talk about people. But me, it was different. It was different for me because of the way that I carried myself. And you had people that were older than me, had a high respect and regard for me because of the integrity that they bore witness to, because I was striving to imitate the prophet. And that's what my parents always taught, is to follow the prophet. Everyone, it seems as though even today, everyone has their man that they follow, their man. And, this is my leader and my lineage. The prophet is the equalizer, okay? The prophet is the teacher's teacher. The teacher's 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 teacher. And I say that because today we have a lot of online scholars. Everybody got a YouTube page and videos and books, and everyone's a master teacher now because of the internet. But I always ask, who's the teacher's teacher? Who's the teacher's 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 teacher? And you're going to go back to the founder, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And that's how we were raised, brother. That's how we were taught, and that's why, we move with a certain spirit and vibration dealing with our people, because division is nothing but an illusion. And when you study the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you will acknowledge a certain spiritual reality. The Moorish American Muslim has a particular vantage point when it comes to our existence in this four-dimensional unreality. Yeah. You will realize that through the spiritual lens that all things are one. By the sweet breath of Allah, all life is bound in one. No man live unto himself, for every living thing is bound by what? Cords to every other living thing. So this division, that's an illusion, brother. And I refuse to acknowledge the illusion. But we move by way of the spiritual reality, and with the spiritual reality, there's only oneness. There's only oneness. The phrase, La ilaha illallah, some people say that means there's no God but Allah, but it literally means there's no reality outside of Allah. That Almighty God, Allah, is the ultimate reality. And what did the Prophet say? Behold the part of Allah Himself within thee. So I don't drink that Kool-Aid, brother. That division Kool-Aid, and Moors being pitted against other Moors. That's not my reality, brother. And I thank Almighty God Allah for Him allowing me to be raised by two strong, uncompromising Moorish American Muslims, and that's how my father moved. He was uncompromisingly Moorish, and that's how my mother moves, and that's how I strive to move. Because the Muslim, and this is for those who try to run away from Islam. They don't want Islam. They say, well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. Listen, it's connected. It's connected. And for real, in this mundane world, you can't have one without the other. Because if you say you're spiritual but not religious, the question is, how do you express your spirituality? Well, however you express it, that's your religion. Because religion is an ongoing, consistent expression of your spirituality. And some say, well, brother, religion, etymology. I know the etymology of religion. It means to bind back or reconnect. And through our religion, Islamism, we are being reconnected with our divine nature. Why? Because in 1774, our people were stripped of their nationality and their divine creed. So when it comes to Islam, and this is what we need to realize in regards to our history, when you live Islam, there is no fear outside of fear of Allah. And the European knew this. He knew this. He could not enslave a Muslim, because a Muslim knows that there is no death. A Muslim knows that death is no enemy, that it is a friend to whom, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. So for a Muslim, you can't enslave him, because he's like, even if you kill me, so what? I don't die, because man is not the body nor the soul. He's a spirit and a part of Allah. And we demonstrate how Marcus Garvey demonstrates. Marcus Garvey, he said, you can see me in a whirlwind. So the European knew that he could not enslave a Muslim. So what did he do? He took Islam from you. When he took Islam from you, he basically took the fear of Allah from us and replaced it with the fear of man. And that's how a lot of our people walk around with today, the energy and vibration of fearing man instead of fearing Allah. And listen, to those who are listening, don't be confused. When we say we fear Allah, like the Prophet says, we fear Allah there for all the days of our life. When we fear Allah out of love of Allah. We love Allah so much that we do not seek to be a disappointment in the sight of Allah. But there is a difference between fearing Allah and being afraid of Allah. We're not afraid of Allah, because when we are afraid of Allah, we take Allah for a foe. And we dress up other men in fancy garbs and call them priests and charge them to restrain the wrath of Allah. So there is a difference between being afraid of Allah and fearing Allah out of love of Allah. Islam.
And thank you so much, brother, for sharing your experience. I know personally, just hearing how you grew up with your family, that gives my wife and I something to strive for, and I'm sure our listeners feel the same way. And if I may, I want to ask you another question. I'd like to say, for the layperson, okay, because we have a lot of newcomers to more science and nationality. Can you sum up the importance of nationality? Basically, why us Moors are always harping on that particular topic?
Absolutely. Nationality, it's of the utmost importance. Okay? Nationality itself, and one question is this, right? People ask, why is nationality so important? Why are you so caught up on that? Listen, if it wasn't important, why did they take it away from us? Okay, so the European must have known that this identity crisis that we're suffering from today, it's real important, because they saw it as a necessity to reclassify our people not as Moors but as Negroes. Okay, that was actually intentional. And we can go back as early as 1441 under the Portuguese, when the Portuguese first sought to capture and enslave Moors. And I say enslave because our people can never be slaves, because a slave is a European of Eastern European nationality. You know, Yugoslavia or the Slavic nation, the Slavic people, well, that's where the word slave comes from. So the European, when he captured and enslaved our people, he saw it as a necessity to denationalize our people. And the effects of this denationalization is seen today. So nationality is so important. It's so important. And when you understand the meaning of nationality, you will recognize the importance of nationality. So the legal definition of nationality, according to Black's Law Dictionary, it is a quality or character which arises out of the fact of a person belonging to a nation. So without nationality, you know, you have a character flaw. You have a character issue because you don't know who you are. And because we don't know who we are, we lack knowledge of self. We don't know how to behave as a civilized human being. And the prophet teaches us that the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. A lot of people know about the Moors when we ruled the Iberian Peninsula for over 700 years. So we civilized Europe. What did we use to civilize Europe? Islam. Okay, the teachings of Islam. So nationality is character. And you hear some people say, well, Moorish American, that's not a religion. Listen, I understand that point. However, when you join the Moorish Science Temple of America, you accept your nationality and your divine creed. Now, understand this. Nationality, according to the legal definition, is character. What is the character based upon? The character of the Moorish American is based upon the teachings of Islam. Now, I want to be clear. There is a difference between national identity, nationality, and territoriality. There's a difference. Three different terms. National identity, nationality, and territoriality. Okay, national identity, this is basically, and you know, we see this a lot today, you know, because of this you know, information age, and you know, we're looking up stuff. You know, many people that look up history of our people and they say, well, yeah, I understand, you know, we Moors. There are people who will tell you, you know, immediately they're Moors, you know, because they understand a little bit about their ancestry. So that's national identity, you know, knowing who you are and knowing some information of the impact that your forefathers made on the civilized world. You know, in name, you know that you are a Moorish American in name only. But nationality, to acquire nationality is to acquire the quality and character of the national identity. And this is why the prophet says in Acts 6, with us, all members must what? Proclaim the nationality. And what are we doing? We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. So nationality is something that must be taught, practiced, and lived. We are in the process of actively learning and practicing and living the Moorish American lifestyle. And territoriality is dealing with a physical authority that's exercised over a particular landmass. So to demonstrate territoriality, nationality got to come first, because some people say, well, if you're a Moor, you know, where's your land? Where's the land? The land of the Moors. Okay? But also, Black's Law Dictionary says nationality is best used as opposed to territoriality, distinguishing the case of a nation having no national territory to call their own. And we have an example of that, the PLO. The prophet talks about Palestine, on page 3 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish American of America. But today, it's no Palestine on the map today. It's no land called Palestine. So what did they do? They formed an organization in order to preserve their nationality. And guess what? To be a Palestinian, you have to be a member of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. This is analogous to the Moorish Science Temple of America. You know, you got some people who say, well, to be a Moor, we are enforcing the treaty, the Peace and Friendship Treaty. Listen, there were Moors who used the treaty, such as the Sundry Free Moors, okay, of South Carolina. Daniel, Samuel, Hammond, and Francis, and their wives are Sundry Free Moors who wanted to clarify their legal status. They wanted to be clear that if they were ever accused of a crime, they didn't want to be under the Negro Act. So what did they say? They said that they were subjects to a prince in alliance with this government. So they were using the treaty, and it was many cases where other Moors used the treaty. However, when the Holy Prophet established the Moorish Science Temple of America, he set it up in as far as you didn't have to be under the treaty anymore, but under the jurisdiction of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's why the prophet says there's but one issue for our people to be recognized. And the prophet says it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine and National movement. So to be recognized, you have to be a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The prophet says it's the sole foundation in which all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens. So nationality is of the utmost importance if you understand a little bit about character, okay? And the prophet teaches us about the tools that we utilize in the workshop of the mind with things that made of thought where we build what? Character. Character. And if you're honest with yourself and you're looking at the condition of our people, Asiatics of America or Moorish descent, we're not in a good condition. Okay, we're not in a good condition. Okay, so the prophet says what? If you think that your condition can be better. So, yes, nationality, beloved, I pray that I answered your question satisfactory. But we can talk about nationality all day and all night. And there is a connection between nationality and divine creed. The European demonstrates a separation of church and state. However, under Islamism, nationality and divine creed, I mean, there is no separation. There is no separation. And so I give this example sometime because some people say, well, more is like Saint Maurice. Saint Maurice is the patron saint of Europe. You have Europeans who pray to Saint Maurice. Maurice means more. And they say, well, Maurice, he wasn't a Muslim. He was a Christian. Listen, look at the lifestyle of Saint Maurice. Saint Maurice lived the life of a Muslim. He was given orders to murder his people, and he refused to do it. And because he refused to do it, he was killed. He was martyred. Okay? So, a lot of our grandparents and great-grandparents, they may have called themselves Christian in word. However, the life that they lived, their lifestyle, was the lifestyle of a Muslim. And I want to make that clear because when we say Islamism in the life of a Muslim, we're not talking about pale Arab culture. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the old-time religion of Islamism. Islam is dealing with a word within the language of Arabic. And guess what? Arabic, where it comes from the Mudar language, and Mudar is an abbreviation of the Medu Neter. So listen, let's not get spooked out with the language. But I want to make the point that we're talking about a divine concept within a language, within the framework of a language. But we're living out the divine concept, the divine thought that is embedded within the word. So when we say Islam simply means peace. And there's a root, the etymology, the root of the word. When you see Arabic words, Hebrew words, Chaldean words, Aramaic words, and these languages are all connected, which they call Proto-Semitic languages. To get to the root of the words, there's a trilateral root, which means it's three consonants, if you will. To understand what Islam means in essence, to get to the root and etymology, it's Sin Lam Mim, SLM. And the root meaning of Islam, it translates into being whole, being safe, being intact. And derived from this trilateral root, it means to be safe or secure or at peace. But the literal foundation of the word means to be made whole. So this is why, Islam, it literally completes you. So Islam wasn't always called Islam, but we demonstrated the divine concept. So when we go to ancient Egypt, which was called Mizraim, which was called Kemet, which was called Tameri, we had a spiritual system, and the spiritual system was known as Mayat. And this is what the prophet is wearing a turban with the plume on his turban. Holy prophet is demonstrating some heavy science here, okay? What the prophet is wearing, he's not wearing that just to haphazardly, just to put on something that looks nice. He's demonstrating the ancient science of the Moors. So when we see the prophet in that picture, where he's standing and he's sitting in one, and he has his turban, and within his turban he has that the plume, the feather, that bends over from its own weight. That's known as the feather of Mayat. Wow. Mayat was simply Islamism in that era in time. What is Mayat? Mayat is a divine concept of justice, reciprocity, harmony, peace, all of the concepts that is embedded within Islamism is within the concept of Mayat. Now, the science of the plume, and this is derived from a book that is misnomered, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It's not really called that. That's a nickname because they would find these papyri within the sarcophagus of the mummified remains of ancient Moors. And because they would find these papyri within mummified remains, they would say, dead man book. Yeah. And that's how we get the Egyptian Book of the Dead. But it's really the book of the emerging forth into the light. And the book is chock full of signs and symbols. And the uninitiated will get confused. And even today, they're confused about the book. They're confused about the religion of those Moors in ancient Egypt. They don't know. But the initiated, they know. They know. And, we demonstrate at the temple sometime. We ask the Moors, what are we? Are we monotheists or are we polytheists? And we give them another opportunity. We say, or are we henotheists? And I challenge the people to look up the word henotheism, because to understand the concept of henotheism will put in perspective the Elohim in relationship to Allah. Okay, but we can talk about that later, Allah willing. But in that book, the book of the emerging forth into the light, you have a rendition of the judgment hall, and within the judgment hall, Thoth is there. That's mentioned in chapter 10 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The same Thoth that's called in Greece Hermes Trismegistus. Okay, same being, same God, same Almighty. And in ancient Egypt, it's called Tahuti. Tahuti is Thoth, and he's recording the judgment. But in that scene, that feather that the prophet has on in his turban, that is weighed with the heart. Again, signs and symbols. Okay, Libra is the seventh house. It represents the scales. So that feather, which represents Maya, which represents truth, justice, reciprocity, harmony, must be in balance with your heart. So what does that mean? our lifestyle, our life, the life that we live. You know, the essence of a person sometimes is referred to as the heart. The heart of a person is the essence of that person. You know, who you are at your core. That must be in balance with the principles of truth, justice, reciprocity, and harmony. Your mind must be in harmony with those principles. What does that mean in today's terms? You must live according to Islamism. Same thing. We get caught up and divided on language. Oh, y'all Muslims, you know, y'all believe in that spooky stuff. No, we're not spooky people. That's why we're members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, because the science, it keeps you from venturing into superstition. Whenever I teach a group of Asiatics, I always tell them, when I minister at the prisons, and we got brothers from the Rasta community, the Hebrew Israelite community, the church, everywhere, they're there. And I tell them, I said, brothers, you don't have to, Islam, my brother. I tell these brothers, I said, you don't have to believe a word I'm saying out of my mouth. Guess what? I check don't lie. So check for yourself, so you can be what you know. Because the prophet taught us that man knows naught by being told. For man to know, he must himself be what he knows. So it's not about repeating what somebody else said. Well, Grand Sheik told me that, so it must be true. No. You have to be what you know. And therefore, in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we go through the scientific method. And the meaning of science is a system of knowledge that is gained through observation, study, and experimentation, carried on to determine the nature or principle of that which is being studied. What do we study? Self. But the key word within the definition of science is experimentation. You got to try it out. It's easy to quote the Quran and say, Allah is a kind God. He has so kindly united thy duty to thy nature that obedience to his precepts is happiness to thyself. Yeah. Well, have you been obedient to Allah's precepts? Because a lot of our people are walking around miserable. They're unhappy. Why are you unhappy if you're carrying out the precepts of Allah? Obviously, you're not. You haven't tried it out. You're just repeating what somebody else told you. So the Holy Prophet, he's clear, brother man. He's clear. And I really sincerely thank Almighty God Allah for sending Prophet Noble Drew Ali and all of the brothers and sisters out there who are Moors, who are listening to this show. I'm going to, tell you, brothers and sisters, you got to join the Moorish Science Temple of America. You can't just be out there, saying I'm a Moor and I'm this and I'm that, and don't join the temple. The Prophet instructed us in the Quran. It says, as the branches of a tree return their sap to the root from which it arose. That's gratitude. Almighty, nobody got to tell the branch of the tree to return the sap to the root from which it arose. It's given back because it's grateful. So if you're grateful to be in the knowledge of Moorish, one major way of showing your gratitude is obeying the Prophet's law. And you got some people who say, well, brother, I'm not in the temple because the temple was infiltrated. No, your mind has been infiltrated. That's the problem, okay? That's a Negro mentality. In Marcus Garvey talked about the aptitude of the Negro to disobey orders coming from himself. So one major thing we're learning in the temple is to discipline our minds, because the Negro mind is one of the most undisciplined minds on earth. So we have to come in the temple. We got to humble ourselves, okay? And we got to sit at the feet of the prophet, because the prophet, he's the master who was sent, who left his footprints clearly cut, which all can see and be assured that he, our master, went that way. The prophet is the bottom line. Some of us, we get caught up on our opinion, and, I'm going to be clear that your opinion does not mean that is your portion of the understanding. Because we throw out the prophet's teachings and we use these instructions, these divine instructions, so haphazardly. We say, well, bro, bro, man, Grand Sheik, that was just his portion. No. Your opinion does not equate to your portion. Your portion must be discovered. It must be discovered. Remember, the chapter talks about the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah. These treasures don't lie on the surface. You gotta put work in. You gotta dig down beneath the rocky soil of carnal things, where these rich treasures are concealed. Gold is not on the top of the ground. You gotta go deep in the earth. The earth is symbolic of your mind. Yes. Oftentimes we say when we share some wisdom, what do we say? Oh, Mo, that's good. You planted a seed. You see, because the mind is symbolic of the earth. And you got to put work in to discover your portion. And when you discover your portion, it's not diametrically opposed to this sister or this brother's portion. No, it's in harmony, okay? It's in harmony. It's not adverse, okay? It's in harmony. So it's not that, oh, this is my portion, brother. You don't agree with me. No, it's not that, okay? Your opinion, that's surface. That's why the prophet, he talks about, the generality of men are ignorant. Generality means most, the bulk of men are ignorant because they're not putting the work in. We have a chapter in our Quran called the insufficiency of knowledge. And it asks a question. And I tell brothers when I'm teaching, I tell sisters, this is a methodology in order to arrive at the knowledge of truth. Okay? It's a methodology. It says what? First, you have to bow yourself at her footstool. Yes. If you were to arrive at the knowledge of her, you must first what? Inform yourself of your own ignorance. So you got to be humble. And then the prophet says the way to her is what? Labor. It's not strange when a sister, she gives birth, they call that labor. Yes. If you ever seen that sister, she's in the throes of death. She's like in between life and death. That's labor. That's the work that you got to put in order to arrive at the knowledge of truth. So it's not a situation where you're coming in the temple and you want everything like a microwave demonstration. You want it immediately. I want to get this. And, we get frustrated. So sometimes you got brothers and sisters come in and they real excited and then they gone, okay? And this is because the mind is undisciplined. All right, you have to be ready and willing to put the work in. It's a lot of work that needs to be done, beloved. But the work that must be done is done on self. It's done on self. Mo Islam.
And thank you again. And I'm confident that you answered the question, especially about the importance of nationality for anyone who's wavering or just still curious as to why we're always talking about that. And especially the insight that you shared on Palestinians and the PLO. I know I hadn't made that connection before, and I'm sure some others are hearing that for the first time. So thank you again. And I have another question, too, also for newcomers to this information. Would you please shed some light on the difference between rights and privileges as it pertains to our people here in North America?
Absolutely. Yes, rights and grant, like the prophet says, granted privileges. And, it's an election. It's an election that's coming up, okay, on Tuesday. And the prophet, I was just telling a brother earlier today at the Sunday school, he had questions about our beliefs in what do we do as Moors. And I let him know that, we're not a dropout culture. We get involved because we follow the prophet. The prophet was involved, and he controlled the politics of his community. And when you control the politics of your community, you control the economics of your community. And the prophet, he was so powerful, that in order to get elected at that time in Chicago, you had to have the okay from the prophet. The prophet had 3,000 Moors voting in one direction. That can make or break any election. So just real quick, crash course, if you will, the Civil War, okay? And just to be clear, a lot of this sovereign ideology is not the prophets. It's not Moorish. What it is, it comes from Europeans who were upset that they lost the Civil War. European Southerners who are upset that they lost the Civil War, all of this, anti-government rhetoric that we at times hear, it doesn't belong to us. I actually read a case where this brother, he was trying to demonstrate sovereignty in a court, and the judge told him, he says, do you know that this ideology that you follow comes from people who hate you? That was heavy. Yeah. That was really heavy. And it's true. Look up the Posse Comitatus, okay? William Potter Gale. This sovereign teaching is actually a Christian identity teaching. Yes. It's true. Look, like I said, be what you know. Look it up for yourself. So the prophet, he taught us about civics, okay? That there was a civic agenda in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And once again, with nationality and divine creed is connected. You can look up the word Quran in Black's Law Dictionary. A lot of people don't know this. You can find the word Quran spelled with a K in Black's Law Dictionary. And it says it is a Muhammadan book of faith that contains both ecclesiastical and secular law. So it's religious law and it's also civics that are embedded in the Quran, the book in which we, the Moorish Science Temple of America, derive our power and authority from, to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America. The prophet wasn't no joke, no. He wasn't no joke. So the Civil War was over in 1865. 1866 was the first time you saw civil rights. A lot of people don't know this, Mo. They think civil rights is from the 1960s. Yeah. The origin of civil rights is found in 1866 and 1875. And also what they don't know is that these civil rights, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 and 1875, was declared unconstitutional in 1883. So what happened 3 years later? Almighty sent the prophet. That's powerful, Mo. So in the 60s, with our people, they're marching and they're picketing and they want Civil Rights, Voting Rights Act. Okay, what that is a granted privilege. Okay, that's what that is. The 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, 1865, the 15th Amendment, 1868, the 13th Amendment, 1865, the 14th Amendment, 1868, the 15th Amendment was 1870. The 15th Amendment of 1870 is dealing with the right to vote. So if unconscious Asiatics had the right to vote, what were you marching for in the 60s, trying to get Voting Rights Act? And even in the 19th Amendment for women. So that did not pertain to our people who were not recognized as full-fledged citizens. A privilege, the main difference between a right and a privilege is that a privilege can be taken away from you at any moment. Okay, the rights that we have, it comes from Allah. Okay, but the power is with the people. The government gets its rights secondhand. Remember, the record says that governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We receive our rights from Almighty God, Allah Himself. And this is understanding how civics work. This government, and you have certain Asiatics who say, well, this the European government. They look at the Constitution. Oh, that's the European law. We have to study. We make some ignorant statements sometimes. The prophet says that the Constitution is one of the greatest legal documents of all time. So for the Holy Prophet to say that, for me, I'm thinking it got to come from us. And you know what I did? I looked it up and found out that came from us. The European comes from a feudal system, okay, serfdom. He had no knowledge of a three branches of government, checks and balance system. Yeah. He had no knowledge of that. A bicameral house, Senate and House of Representatives. Benjamin Franklin in 1754 sat and met with what they called the Iroquois Confederacy. And he learned from the Iroquois, the so-called Iroquois Confederacy. I have to say so-called because these are not the actual names of those tribes who were Moors who were here during the pre-Columbian period. But he sat with them and he learned about what is known as the Gayanishagawa, which means the Great Law of Peace. That's the origin of the Constitution of the United States of America, the Great Law of Peace that was brought by way of a prophet, because there was a prophetic tradition here in the pre-Columbian Americas. The Ganawida was a prophet that was sent to the Moors, the pre-Columbian Moors, who were here at that time warring against each other. So the prophet, when a holy prophet came on the scene, and he's teaching the Moors, he's breathing on the Moors, he taught them about the free national ballot. He taught the Moors how to cast a free national ballot at the polls. What is a free national ballot? A free national ballot is a block vote. You have a whole lot of people saying, well, brother, we Moors and this our land and this and that. Mo, brother, yeah, it was our land, but for real, just being real, we lost that war, okay? We lost that war because we were so busy fighting ourselves while the European was coming together and picking us off one by one, demonstrating divide and conquer. So to get our land back, how do you do it? By way of the political process. When we vote, what you're doing, in essence, first of all, we need to understand government. Government is management. When you vote, you're actually choosing managers. Yeah. Because the people talk about democracy. This country, according to the Constitution, is a Republican form of government. And people who don't know, they say, well, it's not talking about political parties. It's not talking about Democrat, Republican. It's talking about a form of government. And a Republican form of government is a representative form of government, which is why those in political office, they are representatives of the people and otherwise known as a constituency. However, if you're not a part of the constituency, well, listen, I got nothing to say to you. And this is why in Asiatic communities, our streets are the worst streets. Our schools are the worst schools. Okay, libraries, they're closing down here and there and everywhere. But when you go to the suburb, listen, any little thing that happens, guess what? These people, they're going to show up and they're going to say, do something. And if you don't do something, guess what? You're not going to have a job next year. And you know what they do? They say, okay, whatever you want done, we're going to do it, because they understand civics and this republic, which is a representative form of government. And this is what the Holy Prophet was teaching the Moors. The Holy Prophet got the first Asiatic congressman elected in the 20th century. I always tell people, I said, Mo, you're not going to learn about that during Black History Month. Because you know what? It's not Black history. It's Moorish history. Okay? After John White, 1901, no Asiatics in Congress until the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And that's what we follow. We're not spooked out. We're not spooked out about this government. Oh, no, brother, we don't do that because that's the United States Corporation, and I'm a part of the American Republic, and there's a difference. Brother, we follow the footsteps of the prophet. And I declare that the prophet is right. Therefore, the temple is right. What I do as Brother A. Hopkins Bey, I put the prophet on the table. Okay? If you want to argue with the prophet, Mo, that's a fool's errand. But once I demonstrate a part of my gospel, Mo, is when anybody put the prophet on the table, stand down. stand down. They put the prophet on the table, stand down. Don't go back and forth and argue and try to make your point. Stand down, because the prophet, he was Allah's prophet. And a prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. So the words of the prophet are the words of Almighty God Allah himself. That's how merciful Almighty God Allah is. He knows that we can be so undisciplined because Allah speaks to all of us in a still small voice. He who hears is still. We all can access the still small voice, but Allah knows that a lot of us are so hard-headed and stiff-necked that we don't want to meditate. We don't want to still ourselves. We want to do all else. So what does Allah do? He shows mercy when he actually manifests his thought. He manifests his thought in flesh. Makes it a manifest is something that's made plain, something that's made obvious to the senses. And you'll hear stories about the prophet. When my parents joined the temple, it was Moors in the temple who walked with the prophet. And they tell stories about the prophet. They said the prophet would come out and he walk amongst the Moors. He tell the Moors to look at him. He said, look at him. Holy prophet will ask the Moors, will you know me? He said, one day you're going to love me. Okay? So this is Allah's mercy, brother. That's why I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to Allah for sending Prophet Noble Drali Mo. And, we don't have time to argue and to debate and go back and forth, Mo. My thing is, I want to hear from the teacher's teacher, okay? I want to hear from the teacher's teacher's teacher, okay? Because you had people around before the prophet, okay? And I can reference people like Edward Blyden, who's known as the father of Pan-Africanism, who made statements such as nationality is the ordinance of nature. He said that no nation can rise to an influential position amongst the nation without an efficient and distinct nationality. You had people talking about nationality, but nobody was telling us what our nationality was. Yes. Before Prophet Noble Drali, he was the first to formally bring Islam to America, and he was the first to teach our people about their nationality. So my question always is, Mo, where is the sap? Where is the sap, Mo? Where is the gratitude to the prophet? No excuses. No excuses. Oh, well, Brother Grand Sheik, they say, the temple too much like church. Listen, Mo, listen. If you understood what the temple was, you would not at all make a statement like that. Because John the Baptist, what he did, Mo, we have to do what he did. He lived and wrought within the temple gates. How many years? 18 years. We come in the temple 2 days, 2 weeks, and we think we got the temple sized up. Mo, you fooling yourself. I always tell brothers and sisters, I tell them, Mo, I said, listen, you read about the ancient Egyptian mystery system, those mystery schools. Mo, where you think the teachings are preserved at? Mo, it's right here in the Moorish Science Temple of America, Mo. I'm not speaking radical against any organized group, but, Mo, you don't got to join no secret order, no secret society. It's people, brother, by Allah. Brother, I'm not saying no lie to you. By Allah, my brother, I've had this brother open my Quran and circle chapters and ask me, with the tone, he was like irritated. He's like, brother, do you know how much money I had to pay to learn this? Circling instructions, Mo. Circling instructions. There are some people who got to go through so many degrees to learn what we learn soon as we open up our Holy Quran. Mo, the first degree we receive when we open up the sacred literature is know thyself and Allah. Mo, it's people who got to wait years, pay big money to receive that 1 degree as soon as we open up the book. So, brother, you can read in what's the book, Dr. G.M. James, Stolen Legacy. Yes. It talks about how the Moors were the custodians of Egyptian culture and which we took into Spain. So what does that tell you? It's us. Yes. The prophet was known as Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept. Yes. He was taught by adepts in Egypt. So, again, the teachings are preserved in the Moorish Temple of America. I don't want to hear that church stuff, Mo, because we talk about Allah, because we talk about the higher self and our divine nature. That's what I'm saying, my brother. I don't mean no disrespect or dishonor, but listen, in those ancient Egyptian mystery schools, our people have no idea. They were learning about the mystery of deistic life.
Yes.
No, they were demonstrating that there is no death, conquering the lower stuff. They got one was Allah. So these people coming in the temple talking about, well, that's too much like church. No, you have no idea. Well, if you were to go in ancient times to those ancient Egyptian mystery schools, I guess you would say the same thing to them. It's too much like church. You know, they talking about amen. People think amen at the end of our prayers Christianity. No, we are out of our minds, Mo. You don't know nothing about Amun, Amin Ra, okay? Amun, Ben Ami, Amun. That's ours. The hidden, the concealed. God within, the latent potencies that are within. Oh, my brother, we have a lot to learn, my brother, which is why right now I'm going over a lesson in class, and we've been going over this lesson for almost a year, brother, about the method to get our house in order, the scientific method to get our house in order. And when I'm going over chapter 23, when the prophet says, prepare him early with instruction and season his mind with the maxims of truth, I ask the Moors, every time I go over it, I say Moors, I say brothers and sisters, when the prophet says, prepare him early with instruction, I say, how early? And, you know, sometimes, you know, we have visitors or some Moors who haven't been in the temple a while, they yell out, Grand Sheik, in a womb, in a womb. I said, no. I said, no, brother, no, sister. Before the womb. Before the womb. When you understand your frame. Remember, we got a chapter in our Quran called Know Thyself. Isn't that something, brother? A whole chapter called Know Thyself. And in that chapter, it's questions. And the questions in our Quran are rhetorical in nature because the answers are in the literature. So the questions in that chapter says, wouldst thou raise thy thoughts to infinite wisdom? Wouldst thou see omnipotence displayed before thee? And the answer is right there. It says, contemplate thine frame. Contemplate your frame. What is your frame? Your frame are the parts of you that make you who you are. You got to contemplate your physical. You got to contemplate your soul. Okay? And our true self is our spiritual self. But we have to look at our frame, contemplate it. All right? Our flesh. What is our flesh? Our flesh, when you look at it under a proper microscope, and this is why I always say, I said, Moors, people look at our Quran and they come in the temple and they say, oh, y'all got the baby food. I said, if it's baby food, I'll take the baby food. Okay? Because this Quran, I hold up the Quran, brother, and I say, Moors, I said, this is a book of quantum physics. This is a book of quantum mechanics. This is a book of astrophysics, if you but understood. So when you look at your flesh under a proper microscope, you're going to witness energy. You're going to witness vibration. Remember, we're composed of flesh, tissues, and organs, okay, molecules, cells, subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons, bosons, quarks. But at the very essence, we're energy vibrating. It's slower still. That's why we can see each other. And we don't see each other. That's why everything we see is an illusion. People say, well, y'all believe in a mystery God. I said, brother, no, we don't. Okay, we believe in Allah. Well, why can't you can see the God, read the God, you can see it. I said, brother, everything that you see is an illusion. Well, brother, how do you figure that, brother? We real. I said, brother, I say, listen. I said, how do you see? And this is part of contemplating your frame. You ask the average person, how do you see? They say, with your eyes. I said, no, you don't. If you understand science, no, you don't. That's what this is a book of science, the Quran. It's a book of science. It talks about the things we see are but reflexes why the ethers vibrate so and so. And when conditions change, they disappear. Yeah. I said, brother, you don't see with your eyes. Your eyes is a lens that converts light into electrical signals. The signals are sent to the rear of your brain, known as the occipital lobe. The image is created in the rear of your brain. So what you think is your sense that you're seeing and touching is nothing but an illusion. When this is why on the soul plane we experience what? True sensations. Okay? So you think you're trying to see Allah. If you want to see Allah, you're looking at an illusion. Okay? We teach the babies. We had a question a couple of days ago. Sister asked, she's teaching her baby about Allah, and the baby is like, well, I can't see Allah. Allah not real. And one of the other members got up and demonstrated, you can't see the wind, but you can feel the wind. Okay? You can feel the presence of the wind, even though you can't see it. So the things that we cannot see is more real than the things that we can see. So we're not caught up on no mystery God. No, because we understand the science of art. Allah is art. Okay? Allah is truth. And when you look at the etymology of art, okay, PIE, Proto-Indo-European root, don't get confused with that. Proto-Indo-European root is basically Asiatic languages, original languages spoken in the East. It's a root language, like Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a root language. And this is why in a good etymology dictionary, it'll often stop at Sanskrit. Okay? Letting you know it's a root language. So art, the Proto-Indo-European root, is AIW. That means universal life force. So this confirms in chapter 7 when it talks about Allah is all. Okay, Allah is all. When you look into the face of man, what do we see? The image of Allah who speaks within. And that's why I opened up with talking about, as Moorish Americans, we have such a higher vantage point. For those who get caught up on so-called grand body politics and we the right group and y'all the wrong group, you earthbound. You still dealing with the lower stuff. That's carnal. Okay? Yes, it's one Allah, one prophet, and one temple. But simply because you have a nationality card within the temple group don't mean you're really in the temple. Yes. Because the Quran talks about the temple that does not come with outward show, but the temple within. Yes. They're trying to find Solomon's temple. Most Solomon soul of man. Clean that temple up, and you will bear witness to the residents of the temple. Who's in the temple? The Spirit. The Spirit. Okay, so the one temple is a reference to those who are in the temple. Those who have allowed the divine thought to enter their heart and affect their entire being. When you live the life, you live the lessons, you follow the prophet's divine instruction, his laws, you in the temple. Not if you're saying you got a card and you're in the temple, but you hate your own brother who may not belong to your particular group. You're not in the temple. You're in the lower self. You're outside of the temple. And this is what profanity means. The prophet says we're not to use profane language, even in the mildest of forms. The etymology of profane literally means profanus, outside the temple. Yeah. So if you profane, if you and your lower self, you're not in the temple. So you keep hollering, oh, well, it's one temple, it's our group, and if you don't belong to this group, you and your lower self. Okay? we got to raise up, beloved. We got to raise up, and we got to study. We got to study this Quran. We have to study ourselves. We got to meditate, and we got to live right. We got to live right, not just quote. I told the Moors today in Sunday school, I said, we don't come in the temple to become parakeets. There are parakeets in the East whom they teach the whole Holy Quran of Mecca, and they're parakeets that can quote the whole Holy Quran of Mecca. Yes. But can they comprehend it? Do they understand it? So for us, we gotta have some understanding on board, beloved. The scripture talks about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And when you hear the word understanding, listen, you don't even got to go to Noah Webster, okay? You don't got to go to Noah Webster to look up understanding. We have a divine definition of understanding.
Yes.
The prophet said understanding is what? The rock on which man builds what? Himself. It's the gnosis. You see, we read our Quran, don't jump and skip over words. What's gnosis? Brother, gnosis is knowledge. It's a little deeper than that. It's a mature, intuitive, spiritual knowledge. Gnosis of the art and of the know, of falsehood and of truth. It's the knowledge of the lower self. So if you don't have patience with others, they're in that lower self, and now you lose your mind, guess what? Understanding is not on board. Because if understanding was on board, you will have knowledge of the lower self. And the prophet says he who knows his lower self knows the illusions of the world, knows of the things that pass away. So if you know it's going to pass away, you're not letting it ruin your day, and now you all upset. You know, that person driving in front of you to put on their brakes, and you, whoa, why'd you do that? No. When understanding is on board, you have a higher perspective. Perhaps it was a child they were trying to avoid running over, and they put their brakes on and to keep them from running over a child. And so we got to look at things differently, okay? The knowledge of the lower self, the sensing of the powers of man himself.
Yes.
No, that's understanding, brother. That's understanding. So that must be on board, and that's crucial to unity. It's crucial to unity, you know, because it talks about the gifts of the understanding, gifts or talents pertaining to the understanding. We all have a portion. So what does that mean? We have to come together and learn from each other.
Yes.
No man is an island. No one knows it all. Allah knows it all. We have a portion. And what does that compels us to do? It compels us to get humble and sit with your brother, sit with your sister, and humble yourself, being able to learn. It says, hath he endowed thee with wisdom? Hath he enlightened thy mind with the knowledge of truth? Communicate it to the ignorant for their instruction. Communicate it to the wise for thine own improvement. What does that mean? You have some knowledge. You got some information. Praise Allah for that. You share it with someone who don't know that degree. And then you share it with another person. But they got that degree, but then they add on and give you something greater. You're like, whoa, yeah. I didn't see it like that. So now what does that do? It adds on. It adds on. And when you get amongst enough of Allah's creation, you can arrive at the understanding. Okay? Islam, my brother, pardon.
Islam, my brother, we just have a few more questions before we close out for the day. But
Absolutely.
I want to thank you again for coming on, and thank you for investing in us, sharing your wisdom with us. Now, I have a quote from your book, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Savior of Humanity. It's actually a quote from the Prophet at the First National Convention, where he says, "This is no social organization. It is a divine and national movement. By you being born here, don't make you a citizen." And would you shed light on the meaning behind Trump addressing the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship, or challenging birthright citizenship? Does it have anything to do with us in particular, and especially in light of the Prophet actually saying that almost a century, almost 100 years ago?
Right, absolutely. And the Prophet's teachings are so relevant. It's sometimes to me it's more relevant today than it was in the 20s, my brother. The Prophet reportedly said, just being born here don't make you no citizen, Mo. Okay? Because you can be born here, and this is where the marks of Negro, black, and colored comes into play. All right? Status correction. You have some people come to the temple and say, I want to correct my status. You have to know what status is, first of all, okay? Status is not dealing with paperwork, okay? Because you can get some documents and correct your name, but still live the lifestyle of a Negro. Is your status corrected? No, okay? There are people who have babies on their name. I know people, okay? here in Philadelphia, Mo, this is where the prophet came, and he set aside one of the original 15 temples, Mo. Temple number 11. Prophet would come here on numerous occasions, Mo, and there's some wonderful stories about the prophet, coming to this city and healing people, Mo, and people falling in love with the prophet, Mo. Okay, people, it's a one story. One brother, he was in love with the prophet. He was in a church, and he was going to turn his whole congregation over to the prophet, Mo. So there are a lot of Moors in the city because the prophet, had a profound impact on this city. And the original temple number 11 in 1928 was in South Philly, 817 South Broad Street. And there were a lot of families. And to this very day, you have Asiatics who carry the name Bey. And brother, by Allah, I've met a lot of these people. They have no idea what the name means. They don't know who the prophet is. They don't know nothing about Moorish science. But they simply inherited the name. So you got people who have the name, but is their status corrected? No. Okay? If you live in the life of a Negro, your status is not corrected. So paperwork is not going to correct your status. Okay? Getting your bail eel on your name does not correct your status. Status is the legal position of the individual with regard to the rest of the community. It's your standing in society. What it signifies, Mo, at the bottom line, status signifies condition, okay? Condition or circumstances in which one stands. That's what it is. So when a prophet says, if you think that your condition can be better, that's your status correction, Mo. Getting your character right, okay? Getting your life right, okay? Living right. Living like a civilized human being. That's correction of status. Okay, so the prophet says, reportedly, just by being born here don't make you no citizen. That's why the European put the marks of Negro, Black, and colored on us, because they knew, and I asked your audience to look up the Somerset case of 1772, because that will put in perspective what went down in 1774. The Somerset case is dealing with the Asiatic who was captured, enslaved by a European, taken to England, escaped. They captured and arrested him, and he didn't want to go back to that condition, so the case went to trial. And basically the trial, the outcome, which was headed up by Mansfield, basically said that England, because of the pure air, slavery could not exist. Well, at that time, the 13 colonies was under the jurisdiction of Britain. So they're thinking that, like, wow, this case is a landmark case. Like, that can come over here because we're under the jurisdiction of Britain. And if they're declaring slavery was illegal because of the 1772 Somerset case, we got to do something and put something in place that if these Asiatics, which they put Negro, Black, and colored on us, if they were ever set free, we got to put something in place so they would actually enslave themselves. So that's what Negro, Black, and colored did. Because, and I was, brother, it's not strange you talking about this, because I was just talking about this earlier with one of the Moors in the temple. I said, brother, do you know black and white has nothing to do with your skin complexion? There were Europeans at one time who were classified as black.
Yes.
Italians, Sicilians, okay? Because what that did, it described your condition. It was a political status, which is why in 1790, the first census, you had Moors on there who was classified as free white person. And you can look up U.S. Directive number 15 in the case of Mustafa Hefni, who was an Asiatic brother from Egypt, brother, deep brother, Asiatic, came over here to America, became a teacher. He happened to look on his documents, and he's like, why they got me down here as white? I'm not white. But according to U.S. Directive number 15, countries in North Africa and the Middle East are classified as white civilizations, regardless of your skin complexion. This was a political status, okay? To be black meant that you were a slave. Again, it described your condition. It was a badge of political, social, and economic servitude. That's what it was. So identifying with black and Negro, and you got some people who say, well, I'm not no Negro, but I'm black. It's the same thing. Negro is simply the Spanish word for black. So, you're not getting away from it if you're still saying black. Okay, we got to get away from that black. Say again?
Black's the only one listed on there that's not connected to any original people. They have
right, exactly. You're absolutely correct, brother. But we got to get away from that, because you got a lot of our people today. They're trying to resurrect that I'm black and I'm proud thing, and they think that Moors, we are against our people because we don't call ourselves black. No, we're not. We love our people. We understand that we are all one. However, we have to understand that words carry vibration and words carry meaning. Okay? You can't make up your own meaning for a word. It has its own etymological root. And the deep part is this as well. White, when you look up the etymology of white, it's, black. When you look up the etymology of black, it's going to take you to pale. The word bleach is connected to the word black. So what does that mean? Black meant pale, okay? It was referencing pallor mortis, or the paleness of death, which is one of the phases that you go through when you change forms. We heard of rigor mortis, when the joints are stiffening of the joints. Well, pallor mortis, the paleness of death, that's the stage. In regards to biology, people want to ask, well, Prophet says black according to science means death. What science? No, we can go to biology. We can go to social science. We can go to political science. We can go to etymology. We can go to the science of ancient Egypt. Because people will say Osiris. Yeah, Osiris means Lord of the perfect black. But then you have to ask them, what was Osiris the god of? You see? A lot of people, they talk this Egypt, this Kemet stuff, but they can't tell you nothing. They just saying what someone else told them. They don't know. So when they tell you that Osiris means Lord of the perfect black, ask them, who did Osiris represent? What did he represent? He represents the god of death, the god of the underworld. Okay? So it's no getting away from it. Okay? It's no getting away from it. What black meant, okay, it described your condition. It was a badge of political, social, and economic servitude. That's what it meant. And when you identify with these marks, you rob yourself from the precious rights of citizenship. Okay? So moving forward to the 14th Amendment. And Trump, he's what he's doing, and some people are going crazy over this. I'm not going to go crazy over it, because I know I see what he's doing. Listen, we measure time by cycle ages, right, Mo? We measure time by cycle ages. And the gate to every age, we deem a milestone in the journey of the race. And there's nothing new under the sun. Now, we've all been here before, okay? We've been here before. Deja vu means already seen, okay, because we've been here before. So we got to pay attention to what's going on. Mo, Herod, listen, the son of Herod, Archelaus, Mo, is back. That's what we are witnessing, Mo. The son of Herod, Archelaus, is back. And what does our Quran tell us, Mo? The son of Herod, Archelaus, Mo, he reigned in Jerusalem. He was a selfish and cruel king. He put to death all of those who did not honor him. Yes. So, Mo, listen, not speaking radical, Mo, but listen, Trump, whoever don't honor him gets fired. Okay? Same as the son of Herod, Mo, Archelaus, Mo, he put to death all of those who did not honor him. So what he's doing, I know what's going on, Mo. That's why I don't lose my mind. He's throwing out stuff like that as red meat for his base to get them riled up. Yeah, get rid of the 14th Amendment. These illegals are coming over here, and they're having babies, and they becoming citizens, and they taking our jobs. Mo, listen, that's an illusion, Mo. He can't change that with a executive order. He can't, Mo. That's not happening, okay? But dealing with the 14th and 15th Amendment, the prophet tells us where that comes from and who it's for. That's not for us. It was never for us. People will tell you that. Even, Mo, and listen, I've been in the schools of so-called higher learning at the university level. Yeah. And this information that they're putting out, Mo, you can challenge it. Because I challenged it and I was successful. The professor was trying to teach that the 14th Amendment overturned the Dred Scott decision, which is not true. And we should all be familiar with the Dred Scott decision of 1856-1857, which declared, Roger B. Taney declared, that so-called blacks and Negroes, they can never be citizens, and no vote, no act of Congress, nothing could ever change that. But they will tell you at the university level that probably the 14th Amendment overturned the Dred Scott decision. That's not true. That is not true. That is not true. So the 14th and 15th Amendment, the prophet never said that was for us. The prophet said the 14th Amendment, the 14th and 15th Amendment, what it did was bring the North and South in unit, placing the Southerner, who at that time was outside of the constitutional body of power, and it brought them back in. Remember, during the Civil War, the South attempted to secede from the Union. Yes. They had their own president, Jefferson Davis. They had their own flag, that the Confederate flag everyone, goes crazy over, their own currency, okay? They own everything, they own army, everything. Okay, so they were outside of the constitutional body of power. So after the Civil War, something had to be put in place to bring them back into the Union. It had nothing to do with Asiatics. People, listen, they try to, play on people's emotions. Yeah. Oh, the Civil War was fought to free Asiatics, what they call so-called black people. The Civil War. Come on now, that does not make any sense, okay? During the Civil War, okay, if that was to free Asiatics, and people try to say the Emancipation Proclamation freed us, no, it didn't. That was a proclamation that was read for Asiatics within southern states. Lincoln had no jurisdiction over southern states. And people, they raise up Lincoln and say he was the great liberator. Abraham Lincoln said he would keep slavery if it would preserve the Union. He was not concerned. That was a forethought, freeing Asiatics. Okay, that was not his primary mission. It was Frederick Douglass who would go to Abraham Lincoln and tell him to arm the Asiatics, arm those who were enslaved. Once he armed the Asiatics, that turned the tide of the war. Okay, that was not to free Asiatics. Okay, that was dealing with economic issues, economic and social and political issues, not brothers and sisters who were enslaved. Okay, if that was the case, why didn't he arm the slaves immediately? Why didn't he free the slaves immediately? When he went to war with the South. So the 14th and 15th Amendment was not for our people. That was for European Southerners. And my father, he preserved the article and from the 70s. It talked about Robert E. Lee, who was a general for the Confederate states, and how he was never a citizen because they had to go through a whole process with the amnesty oath and everything, and he was never granted citizenship. Wow. This was in the 70s. So for us, we have another perspective, and I've heard the arguments about 14th Amendment, corporate citizenship. But the prophet never talked about that. It's nowhere within the prophet's records that you will ever hear him talking about a 14th Amendment citizen. What he said, it was no need for it. for the salvation of our people and citizens. Because the prophet quoted, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men free and equal. So with that, it's no need for it, okay? And he said for our people and citizens. But who it was for? The prophet said it was for the southerner. That's who it's for, okay? So you're talking about these brothers and sisters, these Asiatics, in South America and Mexico. Well, listen, they are people. They're Moors too, and we were here first. Okay, one of the biggest immigrants is the European, and the prophet reportedly said. He said the prophet, when he was teaching the Moors about the history, the prophet said, Moors, he said, children, you are at home. The European is 3,000 miles away from home, and he's going to have to take some water. So there he was letting the Moors know that they were indigenous to the land. Okay? The prophet reportedly said the Moors lived up and down the Mississippi River before the coming of the European. Prophet was teaching us some heavy history, Mo. Heavy history before a lot of these modern scholars who simply confirmed what the prophet already taught us in the 20s. Yeah. Dr. Ivan Van Sertima is one of our primary scholars, Mo. Powerful brother. Okay, and I thank him for all of his diligent work. Dr. Jose Pimienta Bey, all these scholars, Sheik Azeem Diop, Dr. George James, but the Holy Prophet, Mo, he already educated the Moors on this stuff, Mo. He taught us about our ancient Moorish history. Okay, so like I said, Mo, the prophet is on the table, Mo. The prophet, he instructed us about what the 14th and 15th Amendment was all about. So we're not going to get caught up with that red meat from Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying, Mo? The son of Herod Archelaus, Mo. He's just going through his motions, Mo.
Well, I have another question too. I read a booklet that you published on Scribe, the website, and that leads to the next question I had. Basically, I'm asking a question from the internet, from some Moors online. Is the Moorish Science Temple of America a government? You have a section on that same booklet I was talking about that describes the Moorish Science Temple of America as a body politic and corporate, a nation within a nation. So that's the next question from the internet. It's just, is the Moorish Science Temple of America a government?
Islam, yes it is, brother. Yes, it is. And, yes, the prophet made so many statements, Mo, and the back of the questionnaire, Form 299, which we, call the 101, some of us, okay? Yeah. That's a document. That's a legal document. And the prophet he wasn't no mystery man. He published what he did. And he even told the Moors on the bottom of the questionnaire, see herds, Revised Statutes, chapter 32 and 36. And that's what we did. We did what the prophet instructed us to do. We saw herds, okay? And within herds, okay, which is a compendium of Illinois law pertaining to corporations. And you'll see the blueprint of the back of the questionnaire inside of herds. And when you study that, and read about it, it talks about with the filing of the affidavit, it shall remain a body politic and corporate. And we look up this term body politic to find out what is going on here. Because people say, well, the Moorish Science Temple of America is an organization. It can't be a government. It's an organization. And that's why I offer the analogy of the PLO. Yeah. The Palestinian Liberation Organization has a chairman. Yasser Arafat was the chairman. Mahmoud Abbas is the chairman. We have a chairman. So the body politic, and this is the same thing, just another example in regards to, and I don't like to often give this example, but you can look at the Catholic Church, okay? If you understand how this Catholic Church was designed. I mean, Moors, I mean, you see clearly what the prophet is doing. If you understand what the Holy See represents, okay, in regards to what the Grand Major Temple is, okay, you'll see clearly what the Holy Prophet was working on when he established this Moorish Science Temple of America. The Holy See is the central government of the Roman Catholic Church, okay? Yes. The Vatican is the territorial unit where the Holy See, the government, is placed, okay? It's the same thing, okay? So when you see herds, it says, upon the filing of the affidavit, hereinafter provided, it shall, this is the Moorish Science of America, it shall be and remain a body politic and corporate. Body politic, this is the definition, the collective body of a nation or state, politically organized or exercising political functions. That's us. That's us. We are a religious society, but we're also a body politic, the collective body of a nation. And the prophet, he established the government by way of the administrative structure of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I have this published in my book called Basic Moorish Theology. We demonstrate 3 branches of government in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I put this together, and this one elder, when he saw it, he almost cried because it all made sense to him. The 3 branches of government. Act 1, the Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You have there in Act 1 the executive and legislative branches of government. Well, I can see the executive and legislative. Where's the judicial? The judicial is the Supreme Grand Council. So right there we have 3 branches of government that the prophet demonstrated, and even at the first annual national convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the prophet told the Moors that the Supreme Council, he says, this shall be your Supreme Court. No, isn't that something? No, the prophet was no joke. Yeah. He was no joke. And that's why I'm saying, I want to, just speak to these Moors who are out here doing all types of stuff and filing all types of paperwork. Moors, we can change things overnight. Come on in to the Moorish Science Temple of America, Mo. Join this Moorish Divine and National movement, and let's put this work in. Let's stand shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet, okay? We are the children of one Father, Mo. Demonstrate the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. We could change things overnight, okay? So our situation in the Moorish Science Temple of America is unique because everybody got division. There's division in the church. You got Catholic, you got Baptist, you got Lutheran, you got Presbyterian, you got everybody who got their interpretation on the biblical teachings of Jesus. In Islam, you have Sunni, you have Shiite, you have Ahmadiyya, you have those who follow different methods, whether Maliki or Hanbali or Shafi. Okay, so even the Nation of Islam. You have so many people who say that they're the real Nation of Islam. Yeah. When Elijah Muhammad passed forward, you had many leaders saying that they were the real Nation of Islam. And even today, they got their own division that they got, within their house. But you only hear about Farrakhan because of his leadership. Because of his leadership, he stands out. But yet still, they have their division. But with Moors, our situation is different. We may have different temples, okay? Different temples, different groups. Yes. But we have nationality. I always give the example. I say, listen, in almost every major metropolitan city, you have a Chinatown. And guess what? Everybody in Chinatown don't go to the same temple. They don't worship at the same place. They got different places they go to. But what do they have in common? Their nationality. And they come together as a nation to make it happen. So for Moorish Americans, we got to start, thinking big. All right, this is beyond some petty beefs that happened almost 100 years ago, and we try to hold on to stuff that we don't really have no idea of, but we're passing down ancient hatreds of our forefathers. Fights and arguments between Brother E. Neely Ill, Brother C. Kirkman Bey, Brother John Gibbons Ill. Listen, the Prophet loved them all, okay? The Prophet loved them all. The Prophet's choice was Brother E. Neely Ill. He was the first Supreme Grand Sheik of the Moorish Temple of America. That's the facts, okay? Brother C. Kirkman Bey, the Prophet told Brother E. Neely Ill, he said, listen, Brother Neely, he said, if you leave the office at any time, give the keys to Brother C. Kirkman Bey. Because the Prophet loved both of them. He loved both of them. So they went through what they went through after the Prophet changed forms, okay? But I'm not going to carry no ancient hatreds for my brothers. Because I'm going to demonstrate a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. And if you look at a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, it's not plural. You see, compare chapter 25 to chapter 45. What's the title of chapter 45? What's the title of chapter 45? It's the divine origin of the Asiatic what? Nations. You see, it's plural. It's plural. There, you see that? It's plural. But if you look at chapter 25, you got to be real meticulous, Mo, when we study the prophet. If you look at chapter 25, it's singular. It's singular. We haven't yet, when thy separate in the world, we haven't yet separated in the world. So the chapter says, and when, right?
Yes.
Well, let me go to it. I'm going to say it right. Let me get my Quran because I don't want to mess the prophet's words up. The prophet says, and when, that exercises futurity. We were one nation, one people. It says, and when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love in unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. Brother man, you and I, we're a blood family, brother. We're blood related. Never met you in the flesh in this life experience. But we're family, and I acknowledge that. Because the prophet reportedly stated, my sheep know the sound of my voice, a stranger will not follow. So a stranger won't follow. But if you follow the prophet, we're blood family. It's a bloodline. It's a pedigree. It's a pedigree that we share. The Quran talks about the genealogy of Jesus. Listen, what's the genealogy of Jesus? The prophet says Jesus was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanite and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa. We have the same bloodline, same pedigree that we share. So knowing that, being cognizant of that, we would never, ever let some little petty little arguments that happened almost 100 years ago continue to divide us. What is that? That's the definition of an insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. So if we want to see results in regards to the Moors, when the Moors going to do this, when we going to do that, oh man, the Moors ain't doing nothing. No, change the way you think. We have to properly educate our people. When they come in the temple, we're not supposed to be indoctrinating them with ancient hatreds, talking about what happened years, decades ago, and what Gibbons Ill did. No, we're supposed to be learning to love instead of hate. We're supposed to be demonstrating the divine instructions. What that is, that's a red herring. And a red herring is a distraction. What we demonstrate sometimes are weapons of mass distraction. We got to wake up, brother. We got to wake up. But you know what? We are waking up. We are waking up because I have met some beautiful souls and spirits in this movement, and you are one of them, Mo. You are one of them, and I thank Allah for Brother Lloyd Bey. Praise Allah for this brother. Almighty guided him to the temple, Mo. Almighty guided him to the temple, and he's allowing Allah to use him as a tool to bring Moors together, and I honor that. And I thank Allah, and I thank the brother for making this connection, making this was divine. This is divine. This is divine. Yes, it's mathematics involved. It's divine mathematics, but this right here, Mo, this is the will of Allah.
Yes. That
we're witnessing. So again, we got all come in the temple, humble ourselves, come on in the temple, and show some sap. Show some sap. Show some gratitude. Look at the tree. That when we look at trees and creatures, animals or whatnot, that's a part of the secrets of Allah. No, we have no idea. The Quran says, from the secrets of Allah, let man learn wisdom and apply to himself the instruction they give. Go to the desert, my son. Observe the young stork of the wilderness. You don't want to listen to me? Let him speak to thy heart. When you look at Allah's creation, that's the secrets of Allah. Because nobody got to tell the tree, tree, branch, listen, return that sap to the root. Nobody got to tell that tree that. But for us, we got to be told. We got to properly attend our meetings. Law got to be read at every meeting, Mo. Law got to be read. Why? Because we hard-headed, Mo. We stiff-necked. We don't want to change. We like doing what we want to do. Prophet told the Moors, he said, listen. He said, children, your way you want, your way you'll get. But your way leads downward, children. That's how the prophet talked to the Moors. Because he's the father of the Moorish American nation. He's the first Moorish American. That's why when he addressed the Moors, he would say son, he would say daughter, he would say children. And that's why when a prophet changed forms, July the 20th, 1929, 10:10 p.m., the Moors lost it. They lost their minds because they loved the prophet so much. They're like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We need another prophet. That's how the Moors, listen, think about this real quick, brother. Think about this, right? The prophet changed forms in 1929. When was the Quran published? The Quran was published 1927. 1927, page 3. 2 years. The Moors had the Quran in their hand for like 2-3 years. Mo, a member coming to temple today, 2 years, Mo, you know, I don't mean no disrespect to nobody, but Mo, you still a baby in Islam, Mo. You're still a baby in Islam. You really have not grasped fully the essence of the instruction. Still learning. Okay, it's levels, it's degrees to this. So for these Moors, they didn't even have the Quran in their hand, Mo, for more than 2 years, because originally in 1927, the Quran was only given to adepts. This was the adept book. People want to know about the adept book. Listen, it was only given to grand sheiks and governors, Mo. The Prophet published the Quran. He put it into the hands of the membership a few weeks after, I believe the date is December 15th, 1928. Okay, it's in a Moor's guide. But the Prophet, he put it into the hands of the membership because the Prophet the Prophet is given prophecy. So he know we got to lower ourselves. So the Prophet like, listen, I ain't going to be here for too much longer. I got to give all y'all these instructions. I'm not going to put this in the hands of just a few because I don't know what they're going to do when I leave. So all y'all need these instructions to save yourself. I've given you everything it takes to save a nation. Take it and save yourself, people. Okay, so the Prophet put the Quran in everybody's hand, Mo. Everybody got a Quran, Mo. That was mercy. That was a merciful prophet. But when he changed forms, Mo, we didn't have this Quran in our hands, Mo. Some of us maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, Mo. And how many people were really studying it? So when a prophet changed forms it was very, very difficult. And that's why, not slander none of our forefathers, none of our elders. I give honor to all past leaders, but all who have worked and are working in the great program of uplift and follow humanity. But this is one reason why Brother Miliel was very, very distraught. He was very hurt. The prophet, that was his father, Mo, his spiritual father. And the prophet was able to look in your eyes. This is what I was told, Mo, from adepts, Mo, real adepts, that the prophet could look in your eyes and he knows every life that you have ever lived. And some people, they question the prophet. They say, well, if Noble Drew Ali, Mo, I never say Noble Drew Ali, Mo. I always say prophet, Mo, because that's like calling my father by his first name. I never call my father by his first name, so I never say Noble Drew Ali. I always say prophet Noble Drew Ali. Give the prophet his just due. But people will say, if Noble Drew Ali was a prophet, if he was a prophet, well, why did he appoint Lomax Bey? Well, Lomax Bey, he turned on the prophet. Okay? He's a traitor to the prophet. If Noble Drew Ali was a prophet, why did he know what Lomax Bey was going to do? Listen, our prophet was a merciful prophet. Okay? Just like the prophet Jesus. Prophet Jesus knew what Judas was going to do.
Yeah.
But what the prophet is, Mo, he's the thought of Allah. So he's merciful. So the prophet, and he told the Moors this. He said, I know you better than you know yourselves. And the prophet knows our potential. The holy prophet recognizes greatness in us even when we don't recognize it in ourselves. Well, I want us to digest that the prophet recognizes greatness in us even when we don't recognize it in ourselves. So Claude Green, Lomax Bey, Mo, they had some skills, Mo. And that's why the prophet said, I built this movement on the backs of snakes and scorpions. Okay? But the prophet still gave him a chance. He said, I'm going to give you a chance. Because, listen, I know greatness is in you. Okay? So you got an option. You bring out that greatness or listen, but they demonstrated their lower self. That's what they did. And the prophet was still merciful. When Lomax Bey disrespected the prophet, Mo, and could you imagine this? And a lot of us do this today, and we don't know what we're doing, but we do it when we dishonor the Moorish American of America. We're ridiculing the prophet to his very lowest when we criticize the Moorish American of America. You're talking about the prophet.
Yes.
The prophet said, if he not right, the temple not right. Why did he say that? Because there were Moors in the temple who remained in the temple, but they didn't trust him. They thought that they knew more than the prophet. So the prophet put in a warning, if I'm not right, why are you here? You know what I'm saying, Mo? That's what he's saying. If the prophet not right, the temple not right. If you don't trust me, why are you here? So there were people in the temple who thought that they knew more than the prophet. And brothers and sisters listening to this show, Mo, don't do that, Mo. Don't get ahead of the prophet like the prophet didn't know what he was doing. Like you the wise man and the prophet is the fool. No, that's a fool's errand. So Lomax Bey, could you imagine this, my brother? Could you imagine 1,500 people? You know, they talk about these mega churches and there's 1,500 people in Detroit. Lomax Bey like yelling, he ain't nobody, don't follow him, follow me. Could you imagine that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying, Mo? We men and we got an ego, you know what I'm saying, and we're not supposed to be embarrassed, but sometimes we get embarrassed. The prophet, he wasn't even embarrassed, Mo. The prophet was so merciful. What he did, he just removed Lomax Bey from office, and he said, guess what? You still can be a member. Mo, isn't that beautiful, Mo? When you think about that, he still allowed him to be a member. He's like, I'm still going to give you access to salvation. Yes. Even though you're out of your mind. You have lost your mind to say, don't follow me, follow you. But you know what? I still love you, Mo. And I got one Grand Sheik, one adept. He told me a story. He said, you know, before Lomax Bey went to Turkey, you know, he went to Turkey, came back as Professor Ezeldine. He said before he left, the prophet went to Detroit. They said the prophet went to Detroit and told Lomax Bey, he's like, listen, Mo, he's like, these Mo's going to kill you. You better get out of here. The prophet saved his life. That's deep, Mo. That's deep. So, you know what I mean, Mo? The prophet, Mo, he knew us. He knew what he was doing. He knew Millie Ill. And that's why Millie Ill joined the temple in 1927. Within 1 year, he raised that brother up to the top. I mean, second in command. After 1 year. How he do that, Mo? Because the prophet taught the Moors. The prophet told the Moors. He said, Moors, he says, I am of the all-seeing ones. Mo, that's powerful, Mo. For the prophet to say that to the Moors, I am of the all-seeing ones. Yes. I know you better than you know yourselves. So the prophet knew Millie Ill, Mo. He knew everybody. He knew Millie Ill. He knew Brother C. Kirkman Bey. He would take C. Kirkman Bey with him. See, when a prophet would travel across the country, he traveled with an entourage. And that's how the Moors got to know C. Kirkman Bey. They fell in love with C. Kirkman Bey. Because we had, you know, that Negro mentality, Mo. We looking at this brother, he tall, you know what I'm saying? He light olive. Oh, you handsome. You know what I'm saying, Mo? Yeah. We're looking at all this stuff. He tall, he light olive, he's eloquent, and the Moors fell in love. So when a prophet would travel with C. Kirkman Bey, the Moors fell in love with him. And when the prophet would travel, Brother E. Millie Ill was left in charge in Chicago. Okay? So, you know, Millie Ill loved the prophet. So when a prophet changed forms, he was very, very distraught. It was hurt, Mo. It hit him hard. Yes. And because of that, he allowed Brother C. Kirkman Bey to demonstrate the prophet's last rites. And at the prophet's funeral, Mo, it was dignitaries from all over the world. You see how today when celebrities, they lay in state, and you see people, they look at the casket. It's like a whole line of people. They look and they keep it. They walk and everybody. That's how it was with the prophet. Mo, dignitaries from all over the world. Wow. Muslims. You know, today, you know, especially in Philly, we got a lot of Muslims in Philly, Mo, and they under pale Arab psychology, Mo. You know, a lot of them have exchanged one slave master for another. They left the European and they went to the pale Arab, and the pale Arab is their God. And so the pale Arab tell them no prophet is coming after Muhammad. And they believe that, Mo. It's crazy. It's insanity. Yeah. And it clearly in the Quran, Allah says he'll raise up a messenger in every nation speaking their language, so the message is clear to them. What book are you reading? So, but during the time of the prophet, Mo, you have Muslims from the East. They would call the prophet the message from the East. Yeah. And the Moors in the temple, they say you got to get to the temple early because those foreign Muslims, they would take up the front seats. They would take the seats in the front row. They hear the prophet Noble Jali Mo teach. All right, you had Asiatics from secret orders, from secret societies, who would leave those orders, Mo. They would leave those orders and sit under the prophet as a rank and file member to learn what the prophet was teaching, Mo. So yeah, the prophet, Mo, he laid in state, and it was a serious situation, Mo. And you know, C. Kirkman Bey, he shined, Mo. He shined at that funeral. And the Moors, they fell in love all over again. He's speaking in Spanish and Arabic, and you know, he's demonstrating the silent brotherhood, walking around a casket, Mo, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was those times, Mo. That was those times. That was the energy at that time. But truth don't change, nor does it pass away. The prophet, Mo, is our leader. All right? The prophet is our leader. It's not about your man. The prophet taught us when man honors man. Yeah. The prophet didn't say when man honors the man I agree with, you know, the man I get along with, okay, we honor that one and not that one. No. The prophet says when man honors man, he honors Allah. What man does for man, he does for Allah. That's one reason why Farrakhan's, his message is so potent, because he don't got a problem honoring man. Yeah. Just recently, He honored the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He didn't say, well, Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Farad Muhammad came and Allah in the flesh, and this is what I believe in, and we don't honor nobody else. He don't demonstrate that. That's why his leadership is so effective. So with us, we got to grow up, okay? We got to grow up. And don't be scared. Don't be scared to honor man. I give honor to Brother E. Millie Ill. I give honor to Brother C. Kirkman Bey. I give honor to Brother John Givens Ill. Mom, listen, we demonstrate ancient hatreds, and we don't know. They may be on a soul plane, and they living good. They all good with each other. But we here in the physical, we bringing up these ancient hatreds, Mo, and perpetuating these lies and gossip and all of this stuff, and reading old letters, and, yeah, this Moore said in 1932, and this court case, and that's insanity, Mo. Okay, that's insanity. We are Moorish American Muslims. We're scientists. We're scientists. Mo, we got to raise up, okay? I always tell the Moors, if not for yourself, your children. Mo, you said how many children you have, Mo?
5. Yeah.
5. Oh, Allah, Mo, you're blessed, Mo. He will have as many children, have as many blessings, Mo. You got more blessings than me. I got 2 little beautiful girls, okay? Mm-hmm. And I demonstrate, Mo, I demonstrate when I pass the baton to them. Mo, I'm not trying to pass the baton and it's all tattered, it's all messed up, and they looking at it like, what in the world is this? Yeah. And they asked me and said, Daddy, what did you do to try to bring the Moors together, to try to do something for the nation? And I'm like, well, baby, we gotta stay in our temple. We can't talk to these Moors. No, I'm not going to say that to my children, Mo. So if not for yourself, for them. They are the future. Yeah. Okay? So, Mo, we got work to do, serious work to do, my beloved brother. Yeah. We don't got time to criticize each other and down each other and backbite each other. We don't got time for that, Mo. The question is, how can we work together? How can we build together? The Prophet talked about the greatest plight is economic slavery, Mo. Economic slavery. So we can't have a situation whereas you got a Moor who has a product, okay? He has his own product, Mo. But I'm not going to support him because he don't belong to my temple. You see? That's insanity, Mo. Other nations don't think like that. But we think like that because mental slavery is still on board. The Prophet says the Negro problem is being solved only as it can. And that's by the Moorish Divine and National Movement. So what that means is the Negro problem, solving it, is going to be a process. It's not an overnight thing. It's not, oh, I got a fez on, I'm in the temple, I got a card, I got a Quran, and you think you saved. No, you just started, brother. Okay? What happened is you joined the temple, the Prophet put some glasses on your face. Okay? Now you see clearly. Now you see what's going on. Now that you got your glasses on, now let's put this work in, okay? Let's put this work in. There's so much work that needs to be done, beloved, okay? But again, Mo, the main work is working on ourselves, and that's what Moorish science is in a nutshell. It's selfology. It is selfology that leads to the conquest of self, just like John the Baptist conquered himself, became a master of his mind, and learned his duties as a harbinger. So we refuse to remain earthbound and carnal-minded, Mo. We refuse that, Mo, because there is a higher reality, a higher purpose that we share with each other, Mo. Mo, so much, Mo. It's praise be to Allah. Islam.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, and that pretty much wrapped up everything. I mean, you covered the last 2 questions I had, and I want to thank you again for coming on the show and investing your time and wisdom into the family. We all appreciate it so much. And is there anything else that you want to share? I do want to let everyone know about your books and any websites, anything else that you want to let the family know while you're on the line.
Yeah, Mo, I'm working on getting the other books that I have out. I'm working on getting those out so the rank and file public can have access to them. But right now, you can get Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Savior of Humanity. I think you can get that on Amazon. You can look up Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Savior of Humanity. And to get those other books that I published, you can send me a text at area code 215-939-3584, or you can email me at more777@AOL.com. And brother, you know, we need to learn to love instead of hate, Mo. We need to learn to love instead of hate. Love is the only savior of the world. And it ain't nothing soft. It ain't nothing soft about love, Mo. Okay? When you're being overly emotional, and when I talk about this, especially in a prison, sometimes when I talk about, you know, emotionalism, they think that I'm talking about brothers acting feminine and, you know, being, you know, that other type of demonstration, Mo. Yeah. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about when, you know, something happens and, you know, you lose your temper and you get angry so easily, and something happens, you're ready to fight, you're ready to flip off and you know, lose yourself. That's emotionalism, Mo. Yeah. Okay? We have to temper our emotions, because what emotions is, it is the chemical reactions to life, dealing with the endocrine system of the flesh. You have the endocrine system of the soul, which is the chakras. And you have the endocrine system of the flesh. What it is, it's your thoughts, which has an effect on your brain, and your brain sends messengers to the glands, and the glands releases particular hormones that expresses itself in your overall mood. But when you study yourself, when you learn to love instead of hate, you won't be governed by your emotions. You won't take things personal, even if someone does disrespect you or dishonor you. Yeah. So what? It's nothing but an illusion. I'm not going to lose my mind, okay? Because that's just that person working out their life song. It's not you, it's them. So just let it go and learn to love instead of hate. And the prophet says, the pure in heart will love and not demand love in return. So it doesn't matter how you treat me or whatever, or what you do for me, don't matter. I love you anyway, and we have to demonstrate that love without expecting something in return. We think that, you know, we got to return evil for evil, and what that person did, and I don't get along with that person. That person, they wild, and I ain't dealing with them. Well, guess what? No man living to himself, Mo. For every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Just real quick, Mo, in closing, I love the brother Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's an Asiatic astrophysicist, and he powerful, Mo, but he don't believe in Allah. But all of his study and research confirms the existence of Allah. Yes. And he makes this statement, you know, how everything in the universe is connected, Mo. And it simply confirms what the prophet has been teaching us inside of our sacred literature. Yeah. And that's the job of a Sunday school teacher. The prophet says the Sunday school teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. Now, people mix up the words conform and confirm. It says confirm. When you confirm something, you validate it. You show the evidence proving its validity. Okay? And to do that, you got to study it. You got to put work in, Mo. Okay? So you don't just put somebody up there and say, oh, you the Sunday school teacher. No, the prophet, he trained his adepts, Mo. Yeah. They were trained. Before he sent his adepts out to set aside temple, they sat under the sound of the prophet's voice. They received instruction. So when a prophet sent Brother T. Thompson Hill to Philly and Brother Trailer Bay, Mo, all these Moors come from Chicago. Okay, they were in Chicago, and the prophet sent them out to the various cities, Mo, to raise the dead. So we're continuing this divine work, Mo. You know, breathing. We breathing on these dry bones, Mo. That's what we're doing. We're feeding the people. We stand up on 7. We're feeding the people, Mo. What that represents, oh, Mo, Praise be to Allah, Mo. I don't want to hold you, Mo, but Allah bless you, Mo. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, Mo. And please send my loving greetings to your lovely wife and your beautiful children, brother. And I really look forward to the day when our families can formally meet each other in the flesh, beloved.
Islam, brother, likewise. And please send my blessings to your family as well. I want to thank you again
Definitely.
for coming on the show. This has been great. And hopefully we can do this again sometime in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to end everything. Everyone, please make sure you like this and share this with your family and friends. And on that note, we'll go ahead and end. Islam.
Islam. Peace.
Peace and love.